We just received PCE, and for the month of April, it actually did come down. We saw a 2.1%. This is the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation. And the fact that we're seeing it get ever closer to 2%, which is the goal, this is a massive positive sign. The likelihood of 2 to 3 cuts, even 4 cuts, has increased a bit going over to the end of the year. However, when you're looking at next month, very likely that we're just seeing no rate cut, about a 1 in 4 chance in July. And the market is now anticipating our first cut in September, pretty good chance of it. So this has slightly changed odds in favor of cuts. It'll be crucial to see where CPI goes and PPI coming out early next month. Of course, we still have tariff fear. They keep getting pushed out. So the market has this looming uncertainty that soon PPI, CPI, PCE will increase due to these tariffs. But so far we haven't seen any of that. But at the same time, we have seen a lot of tariffs being pushed back to later dates. So that's one thing that's weighing on the market and worrying it. Now, I did want to mention it's Snow stock. I'm keeping an eye on this for a potential short-term trade. If we see a break of this roughly 193, 194 area, I think there's a good chance that we at least go down and fill this gap here. We also have other gaps down below. And this recent run that it had in late May, it essentially filled a gap from back in February of 2024. But this stock here is Gap City, and it has a very high tendency of filling its gaps. There's a gap here that was filled. This gap that I just mentioned was filled. This gap, it went in and essentially filled it there. Another gap that was filled. Another gap that was filled. This massive gap that was filled. But right now we do have our 3 gaps to the downside. I do think this would be a good short on a break of 193, 194, which is also a previous resistance that might try to flip as a support. If it fails, I think it would be a prime short. Not to mention, Snow is overbought on the RSI. And also, the other day we had news of an insider selling $82 million worth of shares, another insider selling $1 million, and another insider selling $4 million. They could simply just be profit taking, or they could also look at the chart and see that we're a bit overbought. We might be due for a cool down here. They posted a gap loss in the last earnings, a non-gap profit. They did beat their revenue, but I do think this could be a great hedge against a portfolio with only long positions. If the market starts turning, I think Snow will be a leader in the drop, and this could be a great hedge for some short-term gains on a drop. We do have some massive Bitcoin news, in my opinion, crypto news. The SEC has updated their staking guidance, and staking isn't a securities transaction. This may, as said in the article, pave the way for ETF staking approval. Pretty soon you can buy a spot ETH ETF and receive staking rewards. My expectations, at least. The SEC's Division of Corporation Finance said protocol staking activities such as crypto staked in a proof of stake blockchain don't need to register with the commission transactions under the Securities Act. Staking is a core part of how modern blockchains operate, not an investment contract. That clarity is critical. And this came after the SEC delayed their decision on Bitwise's application to add staking to their Ether ETF, along with the Grayscale decision of the same. And as said by Kazimir Shak, that's a pretty awesome name, I'm sure I said it wrong, the foundation is being laid for more comprehensive crypto regulation, with staking ETF approval becoming increasingly plausible by late 2025. And we do have some more crypto news as well. Cantor Fitzgerald activates their crypto lending arm. You can now use Bitcoin as collateral. In a May 27 Bloomberg report, Cantor Fitzgerald provided Bitcoin-backed loans to Falcon X and Maple Finance. Falcon X secured a facility worth over $100 million as part of a broader credit framework, and Maple Finance closed their first tranche of an agreement with Cantor Fitzgerald. This allows companies to receive liquidity for their Bitcoin holdings without having to outright sell their Bitcoin. They can use it as collateral, take out loans against their Bitcoin. This is becoming something that makes more and more sense for a company to hold on a balance sheet, not only for Bitcoin's long-term gains, but because you can use this as a way to collateralize and as a way to get liquidity for something that's on your balance sheet and will fare a lot better than holding a bunch of cash on your balance sheet, which is the subject to inflation, continually eroding it away. Who's their CEO? Howard Lutnick. Lutnick is also part of the crypto task team, whatever you call it. Cantor Fitzgerald also has a 5% stake in Tether. This company that was founded nearly 100 years ago is fully embracing crypto. And my prediction is that one day companies like Vanguard, who are very hands-off with crypto, they only allow you to buy Bitcoin miners, a MicroStrategy. They want nothing to do with the spot ETFs, at least as of my understanding. These more traditional firms that are completely hands-off on crypto will start getting more involved as they see these other firms doing so and continually growing because of it, getting a bigger name. I personally use Vanguard, and I'm disappointed with their lack of innovation, with their unwillingness to move forwards in a digital age. Now, I do want to give you guys an update on a few of my favorite Bitcoin miners. This is btbt. It broke this falling wedge last month. We saw a nice ascending channel, and we are here at the support. Either we're going to break this and test the 50 MA, head to 210, or this is going to hold up, and we're going to target our previous highs here, 260 area. This trend is still intact until proven otherwise. BitDigital is guiding for growth in revenue. However, they are expecting a slightly unprofitable quarter. I personally think these Bitcoin miners will surprise and we will see profitability from them. And I'll show you Bitcoin's chart in a second and why I think so. Looking at CleanSpark, this is one that doesn't seem to be holding its ascending channel. It broke through. We didn't see a massive reaction and a sell-off after this break. I think there's a good chance we retest this. If it finds it as resistance, this ascending trend line flips from a support to a resistance, we are likely to head lower. It does appear that it's coming down to try to test its 50 MA. We basically just bounced off of it here. CleanSpark is guiding for a profit in upcoming earnings, with also an expected roughly $15 million in revenue growth from quarter to quarter, and close to 100 million in revenue growth from a year-over-year standpoint. One thing we did see was a bearish divergence. You see the RSI was cooling off here while the price was still rising. Maybe the market reacted to this bearish divergence, and now the stock needs to bounce at this 50 MA. Otherwise, we're likely to test 794. Looking at iren, they are also anticipating a profit, 171 million in revenue, which is almost a $30 million in growth from quarter over quarter, and like CleanSpark, roughly 100 million in revenue growth from year over year standpoint. It looks like iren, just like a lot of the other Bitcoin miners, got caught up at the 200 MA, wasn't able to clear and hold it. I've been following this ascending channel for iren for this entire cycle. It started at $1, and it is one Bitcoin miner that at this point is still outperforming Bitcoin from cycle start till now. I do see iren as a buy if it comes down and tests the support. I kind of find it unlikely. If it tests the 50 MA, I think that would be an opportunity to add. I would probably hold up here and look for lower prices, but at the same time, I hold iren. If I didn't hold any, maybe I would consider buying here. I do expect that at the least, we will see CleanSpark and iren post a profit. They are the most efficient Bitcoin miners, and of the pack, they are typically the leaders and the most consistently profitable of the group. Now, looking at Bitcoin, we did break our ascending channel. We didn't really even try to hold 106. We just kind of fell right through. I think our next stop could be 102. One thing to realize with Bitcoin in terms of the Bitcoin miners is this is Q2. This is the quarter that's going to be reported for the Bitcoin miners. We reported Q1 and most posted a loss, and no surprise because Bitcoin started that quarter at 90 something and ended the quarter in the 80s. They took an unrealized loss on their Bitcoin holdings, the ones that hold Bitcoin at least. And in this quarter, those that hold Bitcoin will be able to take an unrealized gain on Bitcoin because it started in the quarter in the 80,000s and we're still sitting around 100K. This quarter ends at the end of June. As long as Bitcoin doesn't come all the way down to where it started this quarter, we should see an unrealized gain for the Bitcoin miners on their Bitcoin holdings. This is a drastically different quarter than Q1, almost the opposite. Whereas Q1 started higher and ended lower, Q2 is starting lower and ending higher. I don't think it gets more clear than that. So over this next month, as long as Bitcoin holds on to some of its gains, I do see the Bitcoin miners posting a profit. And if Bitcoin does what we expect and follows out its cycle, ends this year around 150K, even 130K, at least makes some gains to end this year, we should see some consistent profitability from the Bitcoin miners. And I do expect a repeat of what we saw before the last halving, when the Bitcoin miners were posting not just one quarter of profitability, but multiple quarters of profitability, consistent profitability, adding money to their company, not burning cash. And we did see the stocks skyrocket because of it. I do expect that again. And this is the quarter where it all starts, where we finally see the Bitcoin miners post a profit again. But let me know how you guys are feeling about Bitcoin, CleanSpark, BitDigital, iren. What's your favorite Bitcoin miner? We're going to continue to see the top Bitcoin miners that hold Bitcoin continue to acquire more. CleanSpark, Riot, Mara, they are going to remain among the top traded companies that hold massive amounts of Bitcoin. And as the years go by, as Bitcoin becomes more and more scarce, these Bitcoin holders are going to be the only ones you can get Bitcoin from. MicroStrategy is only going to accumulate more. These spot Bitcoin ETFs are only going to continue to add to their inflows over time. Bitcoin on exchanges is only going to drop more and more and more. And while we may not see a supply shock this cycle, as the years go by, Bitcoin will become more and more and more scarce. And we will be literally fighting for percentages, fractions, decimal points of Bitcoin. Even publicly traded companies will. But hopefully you guys had a good weekend. Hopefully you got something useful out of this. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.